So there you saw it. The Windy City is being turned into a police state with militarized riot gear, LRAD machines, and drones overhead. Things could get very interesting this weekend, with massive protests expected to increase by the day. Joining me with a preview of what's to come from the annual summit is Kevin Gostola. He's a blogger with the Center firedoglake.com. Kevin, what do you think we can expect this weekend? Do you think there'll be as much of a police crackdown as has been hyped?
Well, so far, if the preemptive raid on activists is any indication, we're going to see quite the police presence, and we're going to see a lot of police really bearing down upon activists, even arresting them as they're marching down the street, and activists won't even really know why they were picked up. And I do think that we're going to be hearing stories like the preemptive raid at least until Monday.
It is interesting, Kevin, that there was preemptive raids before the Occupy Wall Street action in New York as well. It makes one wonder if this is now a trend. Should we really be surprised, though? I mean, Chicago's already the most watched city in the country, and Rahm Emanuel, he's the mayor of it, and here Obama kind of instigated these federalized crackdowns against Occupy Wall Street already.
I don't know if we should be surprised, but I think we should be appalled and outraged because it is illegal what they're doing. Right now, there are still 4 or 5 of the 9 activists are still being held without charge in the police. They're in police custody, and these people, there's no evidence of criminal activity that has been produced. The police won't even make a public statement, so the press can really not even confirm it. And so, yeah.
What do you think about these ordinances that Rahm set into place, preemptively, all these weird parade ordinances, and do you think that those will take effect? I mean, have you heard anything about that going on?
Well, as far as those ordinances go, they seem to have been passed just to sort of, my opinion, they seem to just help have some sort of synergy with the Secret Service, because really they're the authorities. The federal agencies that are here in Chicago right now are the ones that are going to be giving all the direction to the police department, and from the top down, that's sort of where the instruction will come from when the police chief tells the different squads that are out on the streets what to do. So there's a regime as to how to handle things, and they've got a regime for how to handle the press. And they've definitely got one for making sure that they're able to isolate and prevent protesters from making disruptions.
Kevin, it does seem like those ordinances were kind of put into place to create a chilling effect on the anticipated massive protests that are happening. What about the DHS declaring that NATO is going to be a special national security event? And what do you think about this new Federal Restricted Grounds Act that says that you can't even, I don't know if I got that right, but that says that you can't even protest if Secret Service are in the area, if they're protecting someone? I mean, do you think that we're going to see that being instigated or people being arrested for that?
I think that what that does is just adds an extra layer of repression, of possible repression, because the protesters now have this possibility of being charged with a felony. And in fact, it's really highly likely. There's already been at least one protester that got a felony charge for allegedly assaulting a police officer. And I think that what this provision that can be used during national special security events and used in the presence of any Secret Service activity is just, another thing that they can do. I mean, right now, also on the south side of Chicago, there are police that are making what the NLG, the National Lawyers Guild, are calling routine visits to homes. These look like raids. They appear to be raids, but I guess they're not, breaking down doors, and they're not arresting people. They're just coming to check on you and do searches, and it's very, very fascist.
It is interesting when you hear cases like these open threats against NATO protesters saying, a billy club to the effing skull, just like in '68. And it does seem like there's an agenda here. What are protesters supposed to do? I mean, you see cases of police dressing as black bloc provocateurs and instigating violence. I mean, what should protesters do to try to not be arrested or just keep things peaceful? I mean, in the face of this repression.
Well, I think that they're doing a pretty good job, really, because all of their protests that they have planned, they're carrying out, and they're keeping the targets. So if they want to talk about taxing Wall Street, ending the war in Afghanistan, or disbanding NATO, whatever their agenda is, whatever they came to say here in Chicago, they actually are making it. Those protests are still about that. They're not holding very many protests where they just focus on the amazing security that is here and the police state that has built up. So I think that's to their credit, because it's going to serve them well that they're going to actually be able to make some impact.
With the increased militarization, one does wonder if we'll just see things get worse and worse with every meeting of the minds. Thanks for coming on, Kevin. That was Kevin Grostala, blogger for dissenter.firedoglake.com. I don't know.